The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Keep on rolling, baby. You know what time it is. That's right. The Outlaw Posse is rolling on in once again. And we are rolling in Outlaw Posse memberships and now huge donations. And like I said, I don't normally like to make a big deal out of this because some people don't want you to make a big deal out of it. They want to do it anonymously. And I don't want you guys and gals feeling like I'm trying to goad you into donating to the program. But I would like to recognize these guys because they give huge donations to the program. Marty King donated $800 through Cash App. And we got our biggest donation this past week from Rich LaHow, who donated. I may not have said your name right, brother, if I didn't. Hit me up on DM on Twitter or on Facebook and let me know how to say it. Donated $200 to the program. We also got donations from VDRL, Keelback First, and ATL Sooner. All donated to the program this past week. And that just tells me one thing. It tells me that the common Joes and Sallys in the know out there, they really want their voice to be heard. And that's what I feel like I am. I feel like I'm the voice of the common Joe and Sally in the know. And we're going to keep being that voice every single day. Now, the topic of the day is Joe Castiglione. Hopefully I said his name right. The athletic director at Oklahoma has come out and said, as well as Chris Del Conte, they're sort of on the same page, that they are in favor of eventually going to a 9-game conference schedule. While it was shelved for 2024 and will continue to be 8 games at least until 2025, Joe said that it will be reapproached, and they have their reasons why they think it should be a 9-game SEC conference schedule. Let's talk about it. Rolling. Keep rolling. Oh, my bad. My bad. A song that got stuck in my head, man. Have you ever been humming a song and it gets stuck in your head, an old song that you remember? Do that with Christmas music sometimes. Even if you don't like it, it gets stuck in your head. But we are rolling here at the Outlaw Posse. We're rolling on in once again. And if you want to catch me somewhere else besides here, I am on Twitter at OCF Productions and on Facebook under Jesse Paul Clark, spelled Jesse without the I. Now, getting right to it, seems like Joe Castiglione. Maybe I said that again. Maybe I said it right once again. But old Joe C. and Chris Del Conte, the athletic director at Texas, seem to be on the same page once again. Maybe Texas A&M and Ross Bjork can take some notes on how to try to get along with your rivals, at least when it comes to business. Another topic for another day. I like to give them and the USC Skittle Shitters a little obligatory shot every once in a while because they lose their noodle and wet their diapers every time I do it. But getting right to it, as I said, seems like Joe C. and Chris Del Conte both are in favor of going to a 9-game SEC conference schedule eventually. And while it is shelved for 2024, we will play 8 games in 2024. Joe C. was interviewed, and in this article by Heartland Sports, I'll throw up some screenshots here periodically. He basically said that they have their reasons for wanting to go to 9 games, but they also understand why we needed to do 8 games this year. While you have all these SEC haters out there and people that just like to get on the mob train and grill people just because they don't want to see the devil's advocate point of view. They're just scared to have an opinion of their own. The flavor of the day is to grill the SEC and Nick Saban even though I found out, I thought it was just 4 teams, but there was actually 9 teams that voted against going to a 9-game conference schedule. So all that stuff and all that hate directed in a microcosm at Nick Saban, Alabama, is a little unfounded. And I'm not just saying that because I'm an Alabama fan. I'm saying it because it's a fact. So you're going to have to deal with it. But Joe C. said the reason why they had to go to an 8-game schedule, for just this 1 year at least, is because of the transitional period and the fact that you have a lot of contracted games as far out as 10 years from now. And I know that is a fact because the University of Alabama does that. We got games scheduled all the way out to 2033 in some cases. So to go back in and change 10 years worth of games is going to take a little work. And so, and 2024 is coming fast. If Texas and Oklahoma had waited to 2025 to join, it might have been a little bit of easier transition. But I don't blame them for wanting to get out a year early because of the way the Big 12 has been treating them, especially the officiating, which is horrendously in the favor of the Hateful Eight, as they like to call them, or whatever they're called these days. And the big narrative out there for people that want to hate on the SEC is that they don't want to play 9 games because they want an easier route to the playoffs and they want an easier route to national champions. Now, that might be a small thought in the back of their heads, but I doubt it very seriously, considering that means they'll be scared of each other. That don't make much sense to me. The SEC doesn't play 9 conference games. In my opinion, the reason why I wouldn't want to play 9 conference games is because you're going to beat up on each other, number one, and it also limits how many hard non-conference games you can schedule. A lot of people's like, we need to do away with all the cupcakes. Yeah, that's easy for you to say when the conference you're playing in has built-in cupcakes. And they get pissed off when I say that, but if you do your history on a lot of these teams, yes, a lot of them have had good seasons, but over a period of 100 years, and consistently speaking, a lot of these teams are just cupcakes with a Power 5 label. Like, I don't know, Purdue in the Big Ten, for the most part, they're pretty crappy most of the time. Virginia and ACC, while Wake Forest has been good the last 10 years or so, they were usually a doormat back in the day. California and Stanford are usually crap teams, Arizona. But back to Joe Castiglione, and the reason why he thinks they will eventually go to 9 games. He says it will be reapproached in 2025. So all these people that are hating on the SEC and saying they're trying to dodge each other, hold your horses. It's probably going to change. Like I said, the 8-game conference schedule's in place because it's just such a short period of time to try to reschedule 10 years worth of games that they're just going to have to wait to 2025. The reason why Joe and Chris are really having a hard time with this is because they said, Chris Del Conte even said, that they're having to search for a 4th non-conference game because they're used to playing 9 conference games in the Big 12. And in this article, it also says that most conferences are now going to 9 games because they're taking the lead of the Big 12. While the Big 12 was the first ones to do that, it ain't because they're taking the lead from the Big 12. Now, I ain't trying to piss off any Big 12 fans out there, but the reason why the Big 12 played 9 conference games is because y'all dropped down to 10 conference opponents. Meanwhile, the SEC and the Big 10 have 14 and now 14 plus. So, yeah, I'm not buying too much into the Big 12 was leading the charge on that, but they were sort of forced to do that to survive. But going forward, I do think eventually they will go to 9 games, and I don't really have an issue with it, but those people that continue to talk about the non-conference games and what date they're played, it just is a sad straw grasp for me. It makes y'all look like y'all grasping. And y'all just need to take care of the SEC in the playoffs. If you want someone to beat the SEC, then do it. Beat them in the playoffs. And they keep bringing up the fact that the SEC plays a cupcake game in November. What does it matter when they play the cupcake game? Well, you should play a cupcake game in September like the rest of us. No. Why? Tell me one good reason why the cupcake game should be played in September as opposed to November. Give me a good reason why. Don't be making up no crap. Just give me a good reason why. Why don't y'all play your cupcake game in November? It ain't our fault that y'all have to schedule all your conference games at that time. It's actually a good thing to schedule one in November because, number one, you give your players some much-needed rest that are banged up. It's like an extra off week. You get your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th string players, scout team players on the field, get valuable reps, and those cupcake universities that sometimes up and bite you and beat you, Appalachian State versus Michigan, Yeah, those players, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them that they will never otherwise get. They get to play at one of the more historical venues in college football, like a Bryant-Denny Stadium or, Touchdown Jesus or the Swamp or any number of historical fields to play on. So I don't think you should take that away. But if you go to 9 conference games, you'll still have 3 slots. So I can understand where the 9-game proponent is coming from, because you can then schedule you a hard non-conference game, maybe 2, and then have that cupcake game still in place. So there really isn't a reason why. At first I was sort of against going to 9 games, but there really isn't a reason why not to go to 9 conference games. Because as you know, in the COVID year, Alabama played 10 conference games and won all 10 of them and won the national championship in the COVID year. So it can be done. I think the real reason why Nick Saban is throwing such a fit about it is because he thinks that, or he feels like that the permanent 3 rivals that Alabama were given were a lot harder than what the rest of the conference was allowed. Now, I can understand you want to keep Auburn and Tennessee, but Alabama probably shouldn't have to play LSU too if the rest of the conference is getting teams like Vanderbilt and Kentucky and stuff like that. They probably should have allowed Alabama to keep Mississippi State, because location-wise and geographically speaking, if you're going by geographical rivals, that's the closest university to the University of Alabama. So Mississippi State probably should have stayed on the schedule, because we've played Mississippi State more times than we've played LSU by far. It's not our fault that right now Mississippi State is not that great. Although they're great off and on. Or Ole Miss. Alabama and Ole Miss has got a long history too. We could have kept Alabama and Ole Miss. It would have been a great rivalry between them and Lane Kiffin in the future. But Joe and them, I think, they're really, like they say, tried to put it out there that the reason why they really want to go to a 9-game conference schedule is because that's what they're used to. And while that may be what you're used to, Joe and Chris, it may not be what you get, at least in the immediate future. But I do believe that eventually it will go to 9 games, even though a lot of people, there are some people that still want to go with 8 games. And in conclusion to this, and as a side note, I would like to compliment Joe Castiglione and Chris Del Conte for showing how heated rivalries and their athletic directors can actually be on the same page when it means doing the right thing as far as business goes. Like I said, there's teams out there, I'm not going to mention them again, they could probably take notes from this, especially Joe Castiglione. To me, he's a cutting-edge kind of athletic director. He's probably one of the best athletic directors I've ever observed in my years of watching college athletics. The man's very varied. When he says he wants all sports to succeed, Joe C. really means that, as you can tell by the powerhouse they built in softball and numerous other sports that they're really good at. But that's all I got for today. If you don't mind, there's a little heart down here. If you want to, you can throw a one-time donation in there, heart thanks button. Also, the Outlaw Posse is still looking for members, looking to saddle you up and mount up and get on that horse and ride on in with the Outlaw Posse for only $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. And with that, KMCA to all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.